we're constantly dealing with major supply chain problems. The perspectives on a food recall or contamination problem can vary very significantly depending on where you are in the supply chain. I understand from people who are in the medical device field that this is not as prevalent in that field, but I expect that it will be as more and more ingredients come from overseas. Even in medical device and drug cases, there are often times where there are alleged joint tortfeasors, and so much of what we talk about in the context of supply chains will be relevant to all the industries that are represented here. But when there is a product delivered through a long supply chain, you may find a situation in which one plaintiff is blaming multiple defendants. It's not unusual at all. One manufacturer or supplier could receive claims for the same losses and injuries from multiple participants in the supply chain as well as end users. So for example, if you have an ingredient maker, it supplies an ingredient to a food manufacturer, the food manufacturer then distributes the product through a distribution network, it goes to supermarkets and finally to consumers. You may have somebody getting claims, somebody at the top of the chain getting claims from virtually everybody below. That means that creditors of one defendant, say the ingredient manufacturer, may have claims against each other as well. And in fact, here in the audience is Roger Shoney. In the case that Joe, Roger, and I are recently in, Joe represents the insurer of an ingredient maker, Roger represents the distributor, and I represent a couple of big food companies in the case, and we're all fighting about who's going to pay for what. The same company may be a defendant in one case, but a plaintiff in another case. Why? Well, the reasons are obvious. You may get sued by the people who are sickened. Ron may sue you 100 times, but you may then have claims against the ingredient maker or the distributor or somebody else. You may have claims against service providers who failed to detect the problem. You may have claims against your insurers or indirect action states against other insurers.
In that case, not only are there the supply chain claims, but there's also claims against an auditing company. The allegation being it failed to perform an adequate audit that would have caught the food safety issues that ultimately were responsible for people's illness. And there was also a claim against a manufacturer seller. It was a potato washing equipment that was sold to this cantaloupe processing warehouse, and now that potato equipment manufacturer is going to be sued. So I think when there are creative plaintiffs lawyers like Ron around, and especially when you have companies with limited insurance or companies that may go bankrupt, the plaintiffs lawyers out there are going to find a lot of tangential entities to bring into the litigation.